Hello, welcome back. In today's video, I want to cover why most e-commerce businesses are losing money. My name is Yanni. I'm a seven-figure e-commerce seller. I've sold over $5 million on Amazon and other platforms, and I also have a full-service Amazon agency called eCommerce, where we do everything that has to do with Amazon selling. We work with a little bit over 20 brands, and hopefully you're next. So let's get into the video. So why do most e-commerce businesses, Amazon businesses, are not making profit? Or if they are, why they don't see it. And it took me generating some bigger sales numbers to really understand it. Because when you're very small and you're doing $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 a month in sales, you're so new, you're doing so many things that you're not really understanding where the money goes. When you start doing bigger numbers, when you start doing six figures per month, 100,000, 150, 200,000 per month, you have to be more vigilant, and you start having a lot more expenses. You start buying a lot more stock. You have the team that's helping you. So then you start seeing of, okay, I'm making a lot of sales, but why am I not having a lot of cash in my bank, or what's happening? Most times is because you don't understand the cash conversion cycle, and you're not understanding your cash flow. And what I mean by that, so cash conversion cycle means how long it takes you to convert stock into money, right? So the shorter the conversion cycle, the better off you are. But in layman's term, what does that mean? So if you buy stock of $1,000 and it takes you a month to convert it to $2,000, but you have bills that are coming every week, you have expenses that are coming every week, it means you'll be cash flow negative because it's taking you too longer. The other way around is it's correct as well. So if you have a month, if you have 30-day conversion cycle, but you have trade terms for 60 days and a lot of your bills are coming every 2 months, then you're very cash flow positive. The key in this game is being as cash flow as positive. The difficulty here is because you have to buy stock. If you have a service business, you do a service, they pay you. Your fixed costs are not very high, unless you have a big team, of course. But your fixed costs are not very high. With e-commerce, you need to buy the products and you need to sell them. But to buy those products, you need funding. And usually that comes from your pocket. Now, what would I suggest to do for you really to improve this and to actually see some cash at the end of the day? Because if you're not seeing some profit, if you're not seeing some money, long term, you're going to struggle to have a business that's maintainable and that's actually scalable. And you probably have to go into debt and get a lot of outside cash, and that can get you really into trouble. So what would I suggest? First, know your cash conversion cycle. Know how fast it takes you to sell out the stock and to receive the money for the stock. Because you might sell out the stock in a week, but it actually takes you a month to get that money. So I want to make sure that you know how long it takes you to get the money. Once you know that, make sure that your bills, your outgoings, your payments are longer than that. So if your cash conversion cycle is 15 days, make sure that all your outgoings are due longer than that. So 20 days, 25 days, 30 days, 60 days. The longer, the better. The more space there is between your cash conversion cycle and your outgoings, the better you will be cash-wise. Because even if you're not profitable on paper, but your cash flow is positive, you'll always have money and you always survive. But the other way around is not true. If you're profitable on paper, but your cash flow is negative, you won't have money to pay the suppliers, you won't have money to pay staff, so on and so forth. So cash flow is very important. That's why at the scale, most bigger businesses in e-commerce have a lower margin, but their cash conversion cycle is faster. That's why guys like Tesco, Sainsbury, Lidl, their trade terms meaning like how long it takes them to pay their suppliers is super long. Like I've heard Tesco have 60 days plus, and they sell all the time and they get money in all the time. So by the time they have to pay their suppliers, they've sold a lot of stock and they're paying it with a profit. And that's the key here, paying the stock with a profit. Now, the key here is though, and this is very important, you need to understand what you're doing. Because if you're getting credit cards, if you're getting trade terms, you need to know that you can flip that stock. That's why you need to understand your cash conversion cycle. Because if you do, all you need to do after that is push those payments. You push those payments, you get those good trade terms, you get credit cards that have, for example, Amex that almost has 2 months of payments and something like Capital on Tap, then you can really start generating that cash. And also understanding the numbers of how much is your ROI on the stock, what's your margin on the stock. You need to understand that. You need to understand if you put 10,000 in stock, how much are you getting back? Are you getting back 20,000? Are you getting back 15,000? Are you getting back 3,000? You need to understand those numbers. This way you actually have good numbers. Simplify it, create an Excel sheet. So always track your cash conversion cycle, track your bills, track when the biggest outgoings are. The longer you can push your outgoings, the better. The faster you sell, the better. This might vary between private label and wholesale, but the principle is simple. If you're doing private label and you have a good relationship with the manufacturer, try to get the best payment terms you can, right? If you're doing wholesale or brand direct, push as much as possible with your supplier and brand, because the longer you have to not pay, and the faster you can convert stock, that's where you really get to scale, and that's where you become self-sustainable, and that's where you start generating a lot of money. That's why I believe e-commerce, if done correctly, if done well, it's a huge possibility. It's a huge opportunity, especially in 2025. I mean, it's never been easier. Yes, there's a lot of competition, but it's never been easier to really start e-commerce, either Amazon, TikTok shop, and really crush it. But you need to understand these basics, because I didn't at the beginning, and it really bit me in the ass. And we've had very interesting situations because we didn't understand that cash flow cycle, because I was coming from a service business where cash flow is important, but your bills are so much smaller than what's coming in that you never really run into these issues. But if you're trying to scale, and this is where you run into most cash flow issues, when you're trying to scale aggressively on any platform, on e-commerce, you buy a lot of stock, that's a lot of money coming out, and payouts are not coming on time, you don't know your cash conversion cycle, and you get into a position of, I've bought 100,000 in stock, I've generated 300,000, 200,000 in sales, but I don't have that money yet, so I'm in a very interesting cash flow position. So to summarize it, understand your cash conversion cycle, how long it takes to get your money back, understand your outgoings and how often you're paying out, and push them as much as possible. And if I have to summarize the video incredibly fast, this would be cash conversion cycle, the shortest the better, outgoings and payments, the longer the better. This way you have the cash conversion cycle here and the payments going out here. The further away they are, the more cash you're generating, the more profit you're generating, the more money you're generating. That is really e-commerce simplified when it comes to cash. Hope you like this video, a lot more to come. Stay tuned.